positive and more livable.
All right. Yet again, Allison Wynn, political strategist, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Always good to chat with you. Make it a great day.
Great to see you.
All right, guys, we're going to take you back to McLean, where we are still following that developing story where apparently there appears to be a barricade incident outside of the CIA headquarters. Now, a SWAT team, the Arlington County and Fairfax County officials are on the scene, still gearing up. Details somewhat sketchy. We can tell you a bomb squad also appears to be on the scene as well, as it is still unconfirmed if there is a bomb in that area. Our very own David Kaplan happens to be there and got a chance to touch base with us. I should mention Fox 5 happened to be first on the scene covering this ongoing story. You can also see a drone in one of the boxes that we're going to put up full screen right there. That drone said to be somewhere near the vicinity as well. The question is, where exactly is the individual that, well, authorities appear to be looking for and or strike a conversation with? Obviously, that happens to be top of mind. Getting into contact with the individual, in essence, to bring this potential barricade situation to an end. We're going to keep this live feed up for a second, see if we can contact Mr. David Kaplan, get the latest with regard to the barricade situation taking place outside of the CIA headquarters.
Okay, welcome to Investigate Everything. This is Brian O'Shea, your host. This is kind of a impromptu episode. I didn't plan on going live till later on, but happened to turn on my news, and there we are. The CIA headquarters apparently had a man with a gun firing shots, they say, into the air, and I probably know about as much about this as you do. I will say this, I know this area really well, so what you're looking at now is right off. That is the George Bush Intelligence Center. That's the name of the CIA. You are looking at the intersection of the CIA headquarters entryway and Route 123. If you want to pull that up on your maps, you're more than welcome to. This is especially troubling. I'm not going to get into the timing of the JFK files. If you read those files, you saw that a lot of that stuff was declassified years ago. I don't think this has anything to do with that. I don't think this has anything to do with Tesla, but I do have a theory. It is a theory, but it's kind of rolling that way with all the Tesla attacks, this attack. We'll get into that a little later as I form it in my head a little bit. I'm going to open up the comments early today because I don't have a inspiring monologue ready to go. Obviously, this is pretty serious. I will say here, let me just kind of analyze this for you. So, heading in the direction of, let me get my mouse on the screen there. Okay, I don't know if you can't see it. So where you see the direction of where those cop cars are lined up, if you're heading in that direction, that's going to head towards Washington, D.C. Now, what's very troubling about this, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, that is heading towards Washington, D.C. No, I think they got it flipped around. Okay, heading towards us would be going towards D.C. So you see that shack right there? That shack right there in the top corner there that's like a little guard post. I used to sit empty for many, many years. The problem with this is that when they pan back, you'll see when cars are going in the morning when people go to work at the CIA, they kind of line up in that turning lane. It's very dangerous. And the reason why I say it's dangerous is that some years ago there was an attack on the CIA headquarters where a guy, I believe he was Pakistani, walked down the line of cars waiting to turn to go into work with an AK-47 popping off CIA employees. So there's that. When they start talking, I will definitely, sorry, just raising my seat, definitely stop talking. There we go. Okay, so I just want to break in here. So what you're seeing there, these are bomb squads are always standard when they're responding to these type of emergencies, especially down there at the CIA. You're also seeing armored personnel carriers. The motorcycles they talked about, those motorcycles, if you go down that path right there, you'll see that like if you take a turn onto that, right, they're not going to stop you here at the gate, because that's not the gate. That's like a kind of early warning type thing. But if you just go into these headquarters and you like don't have your badge, or you pull over on the side of the road to kind of fumble for your badge, the motorcycles literally come out of the woods and they will demand your identification, and you're kind of surrounded. So let me show you Google Earth so you get a better idea what you're looking at here if you've never been down to this area. Okay, so here is Google Earth, and this is I just called up the George Bush Center for Intelligence, which is the official name. Okay, so here you go. Here, if you keep going that way, you're going to head right towards DC, and then this is 123. The turning lanes I was talking about are right here, so it's a pretty long turning lane. I also want to point out here that the headquarters is literally right in the middle of a bunch of neighborhoods, very well-to-do neighborhoods. If you keep going this way, you're going to end up on Dulles Toll Road. So you come down here, and then here's the headquarters. And let's zoom in there. Okay. And by the way, everything I'm telling you is public, so it's not like I'm giving away any secrets or anything. I wouldn't do that, of course. So if they're talking about a barricade, they're probably talking about a barricade right here. This is the main gate. So visitors pull over here, and then you have to go through here and flash your badge. There is an iron gate. There's armed guards with automatic weapons. Here in the distance, you see what they call the new headquarters building here. And then over here is the old headquarters building. That's where your wall of stars is, everything like that. And again, all public knowledge. And then this is employee parking here. Don't ask me how I know all this, because I won't tell you, because I won't be able to, but you get the idea. But why am I telling you all this? Well, what's interesting is that it's going on this long, because this guy is definitely stopped. Maybe he's threatening that he has a bomb, but I'm just wondering why the standoff is taking so long, if it's one armed guy, or maybe it's not one armed guy. Maybe they're trying to see if this is some other attack or a precursor. I don't know, and your comments are definitely welcome for anyone that has experience working there. But I do know the response time here is extremely quick, and they don't just rely on the police. They have their own police force within the CIA, which is mainly SPs from the Air Force. And of course, they have more elite guard units. But again, as you can see, it's surrounded by woods. There's usually roving patrols in here. There is a bus to take people further in here for people that commute. And whoever went in there is not getting past this gate. I'd be surprised if they did. And if they did, they need to hire a new chief of security there. So that's where you're at. But as you can see, over here nearby, there's a school right here. There's also, if you go down further down 123, heading towards DC, you're going to find that's where like the Saudi Arabian ambassadors live, VIPs. It's a really, really interesting area because, like, for instance, one of these houses, and it's been a long time, so I can't remember which one, but one of these houses has like Saudi guards at it, like at the gate. And if you turn down there off of 123, you're going to find yourself, getting a gun pointed at you by a guy in a foreign uniform. Not making this up. It's a real thing. It's just a very strange area. But again, they've had one major incident before. Now I've kind of lost my bearings. There it is. They've had one major incident before that I can remember. I wasn't there for that. That was before my time. But yeah, it's very scary. And again, this turning lane is the scariest thing. So that's it. That's what we know about the CIA. So let me see what is happening on that screen. I just got here. Oh, Rye Davis, thanks for joining us. The CIA had a guy, an armed gunman, show up. Apparently fired some shots. They say fired shots in the air, but who knows with the news these days? They never really tell the truth. and we might never know. I'll try to reach out to some people and find out what I can find out from the time I was working in that area. And I have put out some phone calls, but a lot of my friends have moved on to other places, so we may not know, but I'll see if I can find out something, if they're allowed to tell me or they're not worried about telling me. Okay, so again, CIA, they had a guy show up. Apparently he was sitting at this bench right here. That's the main gate right there. That is not the main gate here. So if there's a barricade, he is right there. Okay, and he's, I would imagine he's already put down or, in custody. I mean, he's not, I'd be amazed if he got past that. I'm amazed he got past that with the gun, but hey, he did. So yeah, my guess is right now the standoff is here, but you can't really point cameras down the road, that sort of thing. Okay, and like I said, when they mentioned the motorbikes, oh, they're back. I'm going to shut up and let you guys listen. Hold on.
Do we know if that's the case or team remains on the scene, along with the Arlington County and Fairfax County Police Department. David, I'm curious, with regard to what you have seen thus far and what you have seen unfold, anything new that you can report?
Yeah, Guy, not necessarily since the last update. I'm just checking my phone to see if Fairfax County has put anything else out. The answer to that is no right now. So the latest information from them is what we've been sort of telling you about for the last couple of hours, that there's a response to some barricade situation at the CIA headquarters. It is very clear that it is still active and ongoing and has not been resolved. But, you know, you can guess that work is being done to that end to try and bring this to a peaceful resolution. But it has not happened yet. So this sort of holding pattern from our vantage point certainly continues. Photographer Nelson Jones is just giving you another look here on Dolly Madison Boulevard at just what we can see from our vantage point. Certainly looks like we're seeing several police vehicles, SUVs that do remain here. The primary kind of location that they've been staging is right outside sort of the main entrance on Dolly Madison Boulevard. A little bit ago, we could kind of see some staging of a bunch of men, people, officers wearing protective gear. Looks like we can see a few of them still, but it's just sort of unclear exactly kind of what the nature is of what's going on exactly. What will this vehicle do? Will it, post up behind some of the cars that are already there? Will somebody get out? It's entirely might be too difficult to tell exactly where this truck is going or its significance and import to whatever is going on right now. I've just kind of come up to the right so I can keep my eye on it. And for the time being, it looks like it is just kind of passing all through all of the cars that are already there. And appears to have continued on. And I can tell you that on the side where that car is going, where that truck that we just saw go through is, our photographer Joe Spivak just reported that there was sort of a Fairfax County command center that was there on that side where that vehicle went. So it's unclear exactly what that person might have been doing. But, the first kind of big development or a development that we've seen with just additional resources coming here to the scene. Guy.
Yeah, David, when we first got reports with regard to all of this unfolding in the 10 o'clock hour earlier this morning, it was to my understanding that perhaps it involved an individual. Do we know if that's the case or are there more people involved?
Wouldn't want to speculate on that for the time being, Guy. So we're just going to kind of go with the fact that Fairfax County is calling this a barricade situation at this time. So certainly what I would say is the fact that this sort of staging is happening here would lead you to believe that there is some containment about what's going on. We're not necessarily seeing, you know, a flurry of cars racing up and down. The drone, for the most part, has stayed sort of in the same location. So it's tough to sort of know exactly what that could mean. But, you know, to answer your question, all we know is a report of a barricade situation at this time. And certainly, you know, as we just saw, additional assets are still coming. Yeah. But as we've kind of talked about, it does feel like a little bit stagnant right now, that not a ton is happening and not a ton of developments as they continue to work through this with everyone's safety in mind. Guy.
We should make mention a plethora of law enforcement happens to remain on the scene, including the Arlington County and Fairfax County Police Departments. Do we know at this time either department now taking the lead with regard to the investigation?
The understanding that I got, Guy, is that this is CIA Police's investigation and that those other agencies are assisting. That's how it was sort of described to me. So, you know, we asked Fairfax County, for example, for instance, of just more information about what exactly was going on, and they deferred us to the CIA. So typically, that's an indication that this is sort of a CIA investigation, and these other entities that might be here are responding in an assistance role just to provide additional manpower here to the scene to help the main investigators out.
Yeah, yet again, we are also waiting for a White House press conference to get underway. That was due to start at about 1 p.m. or so. We can tell you that has not happened as of yet. It could be speculated as to whether or not
the president and his policy to comply with these court orders. We will continue to fight these battles. War would be better.
Lord knows it's already
in that region. Obviously, the president spoke.
Days aboard the International Space Station, Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams are back on Earth. These two incredible astronauts were only supposed to be up there for 8 days, but because of the Biden administration's lack of urgency, they ended up spending 9 months in space. Joe Biden's lack of courage to act boldly and decisively was a big reason why Butch and Sonny did not make it back until yesterday. But President Trump doesn't waste time. Immediately after taking office, President Trump directed Elon Musk and SpaceX to rescue these brave astronauts alongside NASA. The president also called the acting administrator of NASA and told her to bring the astronauts home as soon as possible. As acting administrator Janet Petro said herself yesterday, per President Trump's direction, NASA and SpaceX worked diligently to pull the schedule a month earlier. The president looks forward to welcoming Butch and Sonny to the Oval Office when they are recovered. This historic mission brings new meaning to President Trump's promise to always look out for the forgotten man and woman. On another important matter, yesterday, President Trump and President Putin spoke about the need for peace and a ceasefire in the Ukraine war. Both leaders agreed this conflict needs to end with a lasting peace and also stressed the need for improved bilateral relations between the United States and Russia. President Trump also spoke with President Zelensky this morning to align both Russia and Ukraine in terms of their needs and requests. As President Trump has said repeatedly, the precious lives and money that both Ukraine and Russia have been spending in this war would be better spent on the needs of their people. This terrible conflict would have never started with President Trump in charge, but he's determined to end it once and for all. President Trump also promised maximum transparency and a commitment to rebuild the trust of the American people in our intelligence community. Part of that promise was to fully release previously classified records related to the assassination of former President John F. Kennedy, and he made that happen yesterday. This historic release consisted of approximately 80,000 pages of previously classified records that are now published. The records are available to access either online at archives.gov/JFK or in person, accessible to the American people at the National Archives in College Park, Maryland. Records that are currently only available for in-person viewing are being digitized and will be uploaded in the coming days. On another note, positive economic data continues to pour in, showing the immediate impact of President Trump's pro-growth agenda. After suffering a steep decline in the final year of the Biden administration, the manufacturing sector came roaring back in February. Industrial production surged in February. These are new numbers, at a greater 3 times rate than the expectations to its highest ever recorded level. And President Trump's laser focus on massive deregulation and unleashing our domestic energy industry is leading to stabilities for Americans' bottom lines. As Newsweek summed it up today, gas prices are plummeting under President Trump. And the Trump administration continues to make American communities safer through our ongoing mass deportation campaign of illegal alien criminals. Yesterday, FBI Director Kash Patel announced the agency captured another fugitive from its 10 most wanted list, securing the extradition of Francisco Javier Roman Bardeles, a key senior leader of the brutal MS-13 gang. And the brave men and women of ICE also arrested a number of dangerous aliens across the country in recent days. You will see them on this screen. ICE San Francisco just arrested a citizen of Guatemala convicted of sexual battery. ICE New Orleans arrested a citizen of Ecuador convicted of rape in Suffolk County, New York. ICE Atlanta arrested a citizen of Mexico convicted of assault by strangulation. ICE Dallas arrested a citizen of Mexico convicted of assault with a firearm and rape with a foreign object. And ICE Houston arrested a citizen of Guatemala convicted of indecent sexual contact with a child in Texas. These are heinous criminal alien monsters who the previous administration allowed to flood into our country. And every time President Trump and this team deport one of them, our country becomes safer. Finally, before I open it up to questions, I want to tout how successful our efforts have been in filling out President Trump's administration. There have been a record number of 281 Senate confirmed nominations already, with another 280 in process. Here at the White House, OPM and GSA, we have filled 100% of the total number of slots. And this is a record number of placements in the first 58 days of any administration, and a testament to the caliber and the sheer quantity of talented people who want to work for President Trump to make America great again. Here in our new media seat today, we have Katie Pavlich. Katie is the editor of townhall.com, which is a subsidiary of Town Hall Media. It's a leading conservative news and opinion outlet based right here in Washington, D.C., with writers and journalists reporting around the country. Last year, Town Hall Media had 60 million unique users and 1.4 billion page views, with a broad reach on a number of social media platforms. With that, Katie, please kick us off.
Thank you, Caroline. Really appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you. So given the back and forth with this U.S. District Judge and the administration's use of the Alien Enemies Act, does the president plan to send new and additional flights
Of this White House and of this administration, and that's why we're fighting this in court. And there, the president is no stranger to it. He faced it in his authority to first step toward the full end of the war, working on and ironing out the details. But I would just like to emphasize, we have never been this close to peace, and it's only been aware of this story by individuals at DOGE, at
United States Institute of Peace, and then on the Supreme Court, if that's okay.
Sure.
So on the United States Institute of Peace, this is a little bit wild. I understand the old president refused to leave after he was removed from his position. He barricaded himself in his offices, had to be escorted out by police, left the building without Wi-Fi, telephones, elevators, and more, and is now telling media that DOGE broke in and illegally removed him. So can you comment on this sequence of events and specify, did DOGE illegally enter?
I'm really glad you brought this up, Mary. We were made aware of this story by individuals at DOGE, at Elon Musk's team, and also at the State Department, who were unable to access this building. And it became very clear that there was a concerted effort amongst the rogue bureaucrats at the United States Institute of Peace to actually physically barricade themselves essentially inside of the building to prevent political appointees of this administration who work at the direction of the President of the United States to get into the building. There was a piece in the Daily Caller, thank you for sharing the truth on this, about what happened. Staff contacted the MPD in an attempt to prevent DOJ personnel from entering. They barricaded the doors. They also disabled telephone lines, internet connections, and other IT infrastructure within the building. They distributed flyers internally, encouraging each other to basically prevent these individuals from accessing the building. I use this to say this is what DOJ and this administration is facing. It's a resistance from bureaucrats who don't want to see change in this city. President Trump was elected on an overwhelming mandate to seek change and implement change, and this is unacceptable behavior.
Thank you. And just really quick on the Supreme Court, I know it's been almost 3 years now since the leak of the draft Dobbs opinion to Politico, actually. A leak which sparked protesting outside the homes of the justices and even brought on one attempted assassination attempt. I know Justice Alito said that it made the justices targets for assassination, but yet the Supreme Court has not tracked down any leaker. Does the White House have interest in finding out who that leaker was, and can you comment on that at all?
I know generally speaking the president has an interest in finding leakers and he believes it's unacceptable, and it's the position of this administration. You've seen the Secretary of Homeland Security has taken tough action at her agency. Leaking is unacceptable to this president and to the leaders across the board in this cabinet, especially when it puts
Okay, well,
people in
while
harm's
this is
way.
going on, I'm going to try to find some updates. This is obviously about 4 years old, 4 hours old. I just want to get a read on the current situation at the CIA, and then we'll get into some of the other stories. I
would
want
defer to the
to...
Department of Justice on that specific case, but the president has made it incredibly clear that
Yep.
it is
So I
a
want
policy
to
of this
come back to this. I'll leave
administration
this
that there are
running.
only
I'm just
two
going to do a little
genders,
research.
male
Like I
and
said,
female, only two
this was
sexes,
unplanned,
rather, male and
unscheduled, so
female,
I just got on
and
here
that
so
we
we
are
could
not
cover
going
it.
to tolerate,
And I do
such
want you guys in the
behavior
chat,
by
ask me
men,
questions. I
pretending to
know
be women. The
that
president
area
will
extremely
continue to
well.
strongly stand for the rights of women and
I-
girls.
And
not
just so you know,
in
I'm not trying to be
sports and on
cagey. I just,
athletic fields,
the
but
work I
also in
did
private
for
spaces like
contracting
locker rooms
firms like
and bathrooms.
SAIC and Booz Allen Hamilton. So I can't say the name of the client who was a certain government agency. It's just a legal thing. So I don't want you guys to think I'm trying to be cool or anything. But if you do have questions, and I can answer them about the layout and really what happens, as much as I can say, I will. I wasn't
Because
part
the
of
time
any
was right,
security
to
division.
let
I
these
was
people
intel
go, and the
analyst.
president absolutely has the
But
authority
again,
to do it, and they
I
were
used to live
given
right down the
ample
street from
notice
there
in a
too.
letter
So
that
if
I
you have
believe,
questions, please
you're
let me
out
know.
reported on, so it pretty much
And I
explains
want
exactly
you
why
all
this
to pull
administration
up,
chose to
if
let
you
those
get a chance,
individuals go.
Unrestricted Warfare. It's free online. I'll put the link in. That's what we're going to get into here, because I'm zooming back from all of these attacks, and we'll just get into it. It's just a theory. And again, normally I don't do theories, you know that, but it's looking more and more like this is an attack on several levels. So we'll get back to that. So stand by. I will be right back.
Videos of those men, why can't the administration just release basic information like their identities and names?
We are not going to reveal operational details about a counterterrorism operation, but what I can assure you, as I said on Monday, we have the highest degree of confidence in our ICE agents and our Customs and Border Patrol agents who have committed their lives to targeting illegal criminals in our country, particularly foreign terrorists, and they had great evidence and indication. They have the highest degree of professionalism, and they were 100% confident in the individuals that were sent home on these flights and in the president's executive authority to do that.
Follow up, I know in the last briefing you cited privacy concerns as a reason why the administration may not be able to reveal the identities. What exactly are the privacy rights of immigrants who were deported that the administration says
injunctions that this president has faced, deporting foreign terrorists from our homeland, hiring and firing of executive branch employees, which when the president is the executive of the executive branch. You also see an injunction by a partisan activist judge when it comes to the Secretary of Defense trying to determine the readiness of our troops and the qualifications of our troops in our armed forces. Does a single district court judge really have more authority over the Commander-in-Chief and the Secretary of Defense to determine who should serve in our United States Armed Forces? Absolutely not. Anyone who has taken a basic civics lesson can understand that, and it's ridiculous lawfare that we are witnessing. And it's
the president said he respects the Chief Justice here. Does he respect him specifically on this case and this opinion, or respects him overall? And has he spoken to any other Supreme Court justices?
The president respects Chief Justice Roberts overall. He just expressed that to me in the Oval Office, but it's also quite clear that the Supreme Court needs to rein in these judges who are acting as partisan activists, and they are undermining the judicial branch, and it's a dereliction of duty on their behalf. Deanna, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Caroline. On the call with Zelensky, did they discuss the minerals deal at all? Is that back on the table, and what do the Ukrainians have to do to get that back on the table? And then one on the Russia call as well.
Again, I just provided a very lengthy readout of the call that was provided by the Secretary of State and the National Security Advisor. And now we have moved beyond the economic minerals deal. We are at a place of peace. We're at a partial ceasefire, and we're moving towards a full ceasefire and a long-standing peace in this conflict. And that's great news for the American public.
The Kremlin readout mentioned that Trump and Putin spoke about potential U.S.-Russia hockey games. And the Kremlin readout also said that Russia wanted the U.S. to stop U.S. intelligence and U.S. funding to Ukraine. The president has said that that conversation did not happen. Just wondering if you can get us any more clarity on that. And also, again, if it's energy infrastructure or if it's energy and infrastructure, because I think there is a big difference between that.
Again, as for the readouts of the call, I would defer you to ours. And when it comes to the topic of hockey, it did come up. However, we're more interested in securing a peace deal than scheduling hockey games right now. Sean.
Hey, about the deportation flight. So was it the president himself who directed the planes to stay in the air after the judge ordered them to turn back?
The president invoked the Aliens Enemies Act with a proclamation, which then directed the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of State to move forward with the plan of action. And as I said yesterday, all of the planes that were subject to the judge's written order took off before the order was submitted in court. I was asked and answered that question multiple times yesterday. Kate, go ahead.
Is the president still considering pressuring Russia with sanctions or tariffs to try to get a full ceasefire? And is there any kind of deadline or timeline that the White House has in mind for when that pressure might ramp up?
Again, the president had a nearly 2-hour-long call with President Putin yesterday. We provided a readout of that call, and we have his negotiating team heading to the Middle East this week to continue these discussions in regards to sanctions and any other details. I'm not going to give a readout of those from this podium.
And on TikTok, is Oracle the leading contender for a deal? And would the U.S. back a deal that keeps TikTok's algorithm and the underlying technology still in Chinese hands?
As President Trump does so well, we don't get ahead of ourselves when we are in the midst of an
Breaking right now at 4, a suspect is in custody after a barricade situation near the CIA headquarters in Virginia.
For a good part of the day, Route 123 was shut down as SWAT and Fairfax County Police tried to negotiate with the suspect. Fox 5's David Kaplan is live in McLean right now with all that's happened over the past hour. David?
Yeah, Shamari, it's definitely been a very busy hour here. I want to start with this. Dolly Madison Boulevard here behind me, open. Some of these cars are the first ones that have moved on this road for about 5 hours since 10 o'clock this morning as a result of what Fairfax County called a barricade situation near the entrance to the CIA, which is directly behind me. They have recently said in the last half hour, confirming this situation has been resolved, that the suspect is in custody, that he surrendered word to Fairfax County Police negotiators. Again, all of this at really the main entrance to the CIA. Now, Fox 5 has video of this person in custody. Take a look at your screen right now. We brought this to you live as it was happening during the DMV zone. A man with long blonde hair emerging in handcuffs from a sea of law enforcement vehicles that responded. Again, this lasted about 5 hours. There were tactical teams, robots, drones, tons of police vehicles, all as part of this barricade situation. A few of those vehicles just started slowly pulling away in the last hour, and definitely, as you can tell, this road is back open. We have not heard from the CIA about what exactly happened here. All they have said is that no shots were fired during the entirety of this incident. We are hoping to get additional information from them soon. If we get anything new in our next hour, we'll be sure to bring you the very latest, starting at 5 o'clock. Back to you.
Okay, well, there you have it. So, in custody, I want to point out that I don't know if you could see the suspect in the distance there, a blonde hair. They didn't mention that he appeared to be wearing rainbow colors. It just reminded me of like the way Ryan Ruth was dressed. He is the second guy that tried to assassinate Donald Trump. Somewhere here I got that helicopter sound, so I'll shut that off. But yeah, that was more to follow on that, I'm sure. So we don't know much more than that. I know about as much as you do. You probably know more than me if you tuned in since this morning when it happened, but there we are. I will say this. There's going to be questions like, well, why Fairfax County do the negotiation or anything? Here's how it works. With the CIA, they will routinely work with law enforcement agencies, FBI typically, or local cops in this situation because it's their jurisdiction technically outside the gate. But also, they don't want CIA security personnel in any way officially involved with the surrender, the capture, the arrest of a suspect, because then they can be subpoenaed in a criminal case. And so that's why there's that handshake between the CIA and local and federal law enforcement, so they don't have to get subpoenaed. And that's essentially what that is. So if anyone asks, I mean, I'm saying that because, I don't want to hear like all these conspiracy theories like, oh, the feds are, local is in on it or anything like that. It's nothing like that. It's just a jurisdiction thing. It's also it's also a thing so they don't have to go to court, because they don't want, obviously, CIA employees or GS staff having to go and hold up their hand in a criminal court that could be public. So that's how they protect the employees from having to do something like that. I do want to address, I see some of the, posts on X when we were cruising through there. And I agree. I mean, the CIA has done some bad things and have been involved in even worse things. I do want to point something out. One thing about all of these intelligence agencies, they're very siloed and very compartmentalized. So if you've never worked in one of these, you need to understand the bulk of the employees there are involved in the one little job they do. And that's it. They're not making decisions and not twirling their mustaches or adjusting their monocles, figuring out how to take away people's freedom. They're just employees. And a lot of times they don't even know what they're working on feeds into. So think of like if you ever watch a show Severance on Apple TV. These guys, they grab some numbers and then they put them down a hatch on the computer screen, and that's what they do all day. Well, that's very much like how our intelligence agencies are set up. Let's say you're at the NSA, you might have to work on a certain list of code, right? And you crack it, and then you send it. You don't know what it means. You just know you cracked it. You found the key, whatever. That's it. You're not part of the planning. You're not part of the operation. And that's done on purpose to keep overall operations secure. So I don't want people to think like, okay, that guy or that girl works at the CIA, that must be a bad guy. That's just not the case. It's just so compartmentalized. Most people in these agencies don't even know what the person in the next cubicle is doing. So keep that in mind. Now, that does not excuse the people at the top levels or in the DNI who are fully aware of what is going on, or the people on the 7th floor, as they say. So I say that just because I would save any rancor, you know, for the leadership, especially from the last administration, but not for the employees there, because again, most of them are so compartmentalized. They only have access to the one little thing they work on, and they don't have access to anything else. So there's that. I felt the need to say that when I saw so much rancor on X, you know, certainly warranted against the leadership, but definitely I would reserve your rancor, you know, for that and not for anyone, you know, GS-13 or below, because they really have no idea what's going on except for the one little thing they work on. I just felt the need to say that. Okay, moving on to other news, and we'll cut back over to the CIA thing as we learn more. So yeah, the swatting continues. All right. Now the latest one is the latest one that I heard about was Owen Schroyer of InfoWars. Now, as you guys know, so many people have been swatted in the last since 10 days. So for instance, let me see. I mean, everyone from the bearded vet to Gunter Eagleman to Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, the list goes on and on. Another InfoWars reporter also. And then even an InfoWars reporter was killed on, I believe, the 10th while breaking up someone trying to rob his car or break into his car. We don't know if that's related or not, but this has gone on and on. Now, the latest one here is Owen Schroyer, who's probably the most well-known pundit on InfoWars next to Alex Jones. So let me just play what Alex Jones had to say about that today.
Hours ago, InfoWars reporter and anchor Owen Schroyer was swatted at his home in South Austin.
Put your hands up. Can I just record this?
Drop the phone. All of our cameras are running, brother.
All right, I assure you, this is a non-starter, gentlemen.
Keep the collar of your shirt from the back.
Hey, I got top side. You ain't that front door.
Keep your shirt up like that and rotate slowly.
You want me to take my
Keep
shirt?
your hands up.
I have nothing. You want me to take my shirt?
The collar of your shirt from the top. Pull up and rotate. 360. Turn. Slowly. Slowly. Turn. Slowly. Stop. Keep your hands up. Put your hands on the back of your head. You're going to walk backwards to the sound of my voice. Start walking. Keep walking. Backwards towards the sound of my voice. Stop.
G-Man switch. You got front door. I got rear camera.
Get on your knees.
Just so you guys know, I'm home alone. This is a false police report.
Start crawling back towards the sound of my voice.
Yeah, I'm getting on mine too. Just keep crawling back. You got it, guys. Whatever you need. Whatever you need.
Hey, we hear you, bro. We just gotta do this.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Sorry, guys. It's like hurt my knees.
Come on, keep crawling, keep crawling. Lay on your stomach. Lay on your stomach. Put your hands out like an airplane. Put your palms up towards the sky. Stay right there.
real quick. Oh, police department, make yourself known! Police department, come to the front door! Not saying much over here. Oh, police department, come to the front door, your hands up and empty! It's the only way I can guarantee your safety! Yeah, I'm good. There's someone on start yelling. I'm all good. Yeah, like that.
Okay, so you saw that pretty scary stuff. I actually have Grok right now searching for the full list of victims of swatting in the last 10 days. So I'll just let that run in the background. So, yeah, I mean, Owen Schroyer, and ironically, he was talking about swatting incidents before that was like his last broadcast. InfoWars, of course, is always targeted. So why the rash of swattings all of a sudden? Well, there's a couple theories you could think about. First of all, it's targeted and it's organized. It does seem to coincide with the Tesla attacks. So if you look at the Action Network calendar of Tesla attacks, they seem to coincide with swattings, even in the same states. So there's that. But there's also the, I think someone called it something today. I can't think of the phenomenon, but basically the copycat type stuff where someone swats someone or someone burns a Tesla place down and they get arrested and they're famous for a day. You're going to have a lot of people saying, hey, that's a good idea. Let's try that. So it's going to be a really hard pattern to solve. In this case here, I think the victimology approach is the way to go instead of the criminology approach. What I mean by that is instead of trying to figure out the criminal's motivations and modus operandi, we have more information on who the victims are. So we want to take a victimological approach to try to solve who's doing this. Will we solve it? We'll try to solve a few. But that's the best way to look at this. Always go with the information you have. Trying to figure out like who is behind it. It could be anyone. On the last show I talked about how 2 men were indicted in 2024 for swattings, like 34 swattings that occurred in 2020, and they were doing it from Serbia and Bucharest. So people could do it from anywhere, and that's the real danger of it. Same thing with the Tesla attacks, and we'll talk about those in a second. I did notice on one of the Tesla attacks, someone misused the definite article "the," and it indicates to me that foreigners might be involved somehow in the Tesla attacks. And I'm coming around full circle to why I keep bringing up these kind of odd factoids. So here's a list right now according to Grok. And I know, so yeah, they didn't include Owen Schroyer because that just happened, but Juanita Broderick, Gunter Eagleman, Joe Pagliarulo, Chase Geiser of InfoWars, Laura Loomer, Michael Nolet, Charlie Kirk, Dinesh D'Souza, Ben Shapiro, Candace Owen, Steve Bannon, Tucker. So this is like in the last few years. Dan Bongino, Matt Gaetz, Alex Jones, Roger Stone, Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham, Mike Pence, Donald Trump Jr., Ivanka Trump, Melania Trump, Jared Kushner, Eric Trump, and Kimberly Guilfoyle. So victimology, they're all conservatives, obviously. They're all very high-level conservatives or high-profile conservatives. So that's what we have right now on that. Okay, so we got the swattings. We now have an attack on the CIA where a guy showed up with a gun. That is an attack. And that I don't think that has to do with the JFK files. I think that has more to do with this rash of attacks against our country from, internally. So the other thing that I mentioned was the Tesla attacks. Okay, so yesterday I put out a tweet that shows the scheduled Tesla attacks for today. Now, let's take you over to Action Network here. So Action Network is the Act Blue affiliated CRM that lets people schedule protests. It's the same BLM used it. Ruth sent us, the pro-abortion people used it. There's other ones like Mobilize and Open Collective. What they do is they let you organize whatever you want from wherever you want, which is really scary. So as I reported on Dr. Drew in 2022, I believe, anyone from anywhere in the world can take a credit card, get a subscription to these things, and mount a violent protest anywhere in the world. Now, if you think about that, I've said this many times, that's just like having artillery, like long-range artillery, because look at the condition of the cities after these riots break out. Look at the condition of the Tesla dealerships are on fire. And they're not only on fire, but they have lithium batteries, which causes secondary explosions, which could cause more innocent bystanders getting killed. So make no mistake, these are attacks. Now, when you look at the Action Network Tesla takedown page, okay, let me just share that with you here. If this doesn't look like a coordinated and planned attack, I don't know what does. So check this out. Okay, so this is the map. You go to Tesla, if you go to actionnetwork.org, or you can just Google Action Network and Tesla takedown. These are all the planned or attacks that have already happened on Tesla dealerships, collision centers, you name it. So if you read over here, it says Elon Musk is destroying our democracy and he's using the fortune he built, whatever. They don't matter. What matters is the actions. So the Tesla takedown, hashtag, it all sets up really quickly, I might add. And then down here, you have the list of events. And then here's the main organizers, troublemakers out of Seattle, Washington, and the Disruption Project. But if you go into the individual events, so this is yesterday's, you can see the details. And then you can see like Stephen Kane of Indianapolis, Indiana, organized this particular one in Castleton, Castleton Corner Drive, Indianapolis, that sort of thing. So if you go into these, and what I've been doing, and I really encourage you guys to do this as well. If you go into these events, look for events near you. You can actually go in here and search for events near you. Okay, so let's say you want to find, I don't know, one in, let's say, Salem, Massachusetts, or one near Salem, Massachusetts. All right. Well, there's a lot of them in Boston, as you can see. So on the 22nd, you can see there's going to be one at the North Shore Mall where there is a Tesla dealership. That's a big mall out there. Another one on the 29th, 22nd, Portsmouth, New Hampshire, Dedham. They've had attacks over here already. Now, these are technically protests, but, or they're listed as protests. However, as we know in Dedham, which is just south of Roxbury, they were setting the chargers on fire in Dedham. So you can expect that the Saturday, March 22nd, Tesla takedown at the Tesla Dedham, that will undoubtedly turn violent because they seem to get people there. This almost seems like a smokescreen to get a lot of people on the scene. And then, the after party, after all the, baby boomer protesters go home, all of a sudden people are tossing Molotov cocktails and blowing up Teslas. And yeah, so use this and go through, and it would be great if you can't counter protest. I do understand that, like, if you're a lone individual, it might be a little nerve-wracking to go counter protest against 20 people, not knowing what they'll do to you. That's fine. I understand. But go down there and try to get surveillance of who's out there. Okay, because we have to start connecting the dots here. We have to start connecting who's at multiple rallies. The one I posted yesterday, we had a guy from up in New York going down to New Jersey today. That occurs at 4 o'clock in Paramus, New Jersey at a Tesla dealership. How does that help? Well, it helps is because we have to start getting people arrested. People have been arrested for vandalism and criminal acts. You can't arrest people for protesting. That is their right. And I respect that right. You can arrest people for vandalizing, for destroying, or for attacking you or reporters or anyone else. And that's why it's important to capture as much as you can, because they might be protesting when the sun is up. They might be putting on a mask and tossing Molotov cocktails when the sun goes down. You just can't be sure. So definitely check out the Action Network listing. In some of these, they also have little special actions they're going to take. And I meant to put this out yesterday. I did put it out on my long tweet, but like on the Tesla takedown in, oh yeah, by the way, this one It's interesting because Glebe Road is right in Arlington, which is like right near Washington, D.C. I used to live on Glebe Road. So there's multiple ones of these. And then you can also see like the climate change people are involved with it. A lot of the trans organizations are involved with the attacks on Tesla. So it's not really a cause. And, you know, Data Republican really pointed out, this is weird because it doesn't feel like there's any emotion to it. Well, when there's not emotion behind a protest, people are usually getting paid or it's organized. And I'll just leave it at that. The two main organizers behind this are troublemakers out of Seattle and Indivisible, which is an organization that says they're legit, but they're encouraging people to go to these mass rallies. Now, if I was protesting something and all of a sudden protests turned violent and they were burning like businesses, I'd probably call off these protests until I could make sure that none of my protesters were involved. Indivisible's not doing that. They're actually doubling down. So if the FBI is listening, they need to be hauled in and questioned, plain and simple. Okay, because they are having protests at every single one of these Tesla dealerships that have been attacked after the protest. That's a pattern. All right, so moving on to the next thing. So what I mentioned earlier was unrestricted warfare. So I'm looking at this now, and what I'm seeing is a pattern of attacks that if we zoom back and forth in time, let's think about all the attacks in our country and everything that has occurred. So let me add, this is my Twitter feed. Okay, so if you go, okay, and I just, hopefully you guys can still hear me. I keep getting these weird things on my streaming. Okay, so let me just do a quick sound check on, by going to Rumble and seeing if I could hear myself here. Okay. Test. Good. All right, we're good. Okay, so I brought up unrestricted warfare because the more I look at these things, the more they look like very well-coordinated attacks that we're being led to believe are far-left protesters. And to me, I don't know, man. Yes, spray painting things and attacking, or maybe even, you know, the swatting is, yeah, that could easily be kids for all you know. But when you start looking and you zoom back, let's go back to, oh, I don't know. Let's go all the way back here to, I don't know, I'm just scrolling through my tweets on this. Well, go back to like 2022. We started seeing all of our food distribution centers getting burnt to the ground. Okay. And then we started seeing a lot of derailments on the T in Boston, a lot of, you know, a lot of different attacks of that nature, attacks on our water supply, attacks on our food supply. We started seeing, I mean, San Francisco got taken over by Chinese flags when Xi Jinping was coming to visit, and they literally disappeared all the homeless people. We have attacks on our media. We have influence on our media. Reuters, Reuters, and AP and NBC, they all have active memorandums of cooperation with the Chinese Communist Party's Ministry of Propaganda. The forward-facing branch of that is Xinhua Newsnet, and that's not a secret. It's very open. So what is unrestricted warfare? Let me give you the book's description, but in their 1999 concept paper, Chinese colonels Qi Liang and Wang Jingsu described unrestricted warfare as using all means whatsoever, means that involve military power, means that do not involve military power, means that entail casualties, and means that do not entail casualties, to force the enemy to serve one's own interests. In short, warfare that transcends all boundaries and limits can be considered unrestricted warfare. Colonel Liang and Jingsu identified 26 forms of unrestricted warfare, which are summarized in Table 1. And so, this has kind of been meshed into the doctrine and grand strategy of the Chinese Communist Party, who wants to be the global hegemon by 2049, the 100-year anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party. All right, so the warfare they listed in 1999 was military or kinetic would be atomic warfare, conventional warfare, biochemical warfare, space warfare, electronic warfare, guerrilla warfare, and terrorist warfare. Transmilitary, meaning kind of like parallel military or transcending, military and non-military, would be like diplomatic warfare, network warfare, or hacking. Bear in mind it was 1999. Intelligence warfare, psychological warfare. Psychological warfare, I think of TikTok when I think of that one. Smuggling warfare, that undermines an economy when you smuggle in illicit goods. Drug warfare, fentanyl. Fabrication warfare, that you'll see that happening all the time. So anytime you go to Amazon Marketplace, you'll see these cheap knockoffs of things. They're usually Chinese. And what they do, they don't respect our IP laws and our copyright laws. So what they will do is they'll take out our businesses by literally fabricating the products and selling them on market. And usually you can find those through Amazon Marketplace. So when you're buying something on Amazon, if it switches over to Amazon Marketplace, check out the business you're buying from because they could be fabricating the products. They're probably Chinese. And just so you know, everything in China is part of the Chinese Communist Party, which is the ruling party and massively the biggest party by millions. And the reason I say that is because in November of 2020, the Chinese Communist Party achieved what they call military-civil fusion. What is that? That means every single business in China has to open their records or make their databases available to the Chinese Communist Party, to the military, whenever the Chinese government demands it. So there really is no delineation between Chinese Communist Party and Chinese business and military. It's all the same thing over there. Anyone that tells you differently, they just don't know what they're talking about. This is the reason why Donald Trump in 2020 had signed an executive order that would have banned any American company from doing business with any Chinese company involved with the Chinese military. He knew that's every Chinese company. That's why he did it. Biden, as soon as he came in, killed that executive order right away. Okay. So there's also tactical warfare. That could be terrorism, mayhem, anything. Technological warfare. Again, this is more like putting bugs in things and sabotaging things technologically. Right now, most of the cranes in U.S. ports are Chinese built by a company called ZPMC, who they just recently found this transmitter on one of these massive cranes. And they didn't know what it was transmitting to. Now, bear in mind, these cranes can lift entire ships out of the water. So if you go down to like Newark Airport on your way there, if you look at all those ports, those are all Chinese-made cranes, which means they could take control of those cranes anytime. You may recall the case of Lenovo, where they found out every Lenovo laptop had like sniffers in it and stuff that could transmit back to China. So you'd buy a Lenovo laptop, everything you were doing was transmitting back to the Chinese Communist Party. So other non-military types of warfare are financial warfare, trade warfare, resource warfare, economic aid warfare. That is giving assistance to a country to make them your friend and not your enemy's friend. Sanctions warfare, we all know what that is. Regulations warfare is really interesting. That's getting your people inside the government to change the regulations to favor you and to not favor your enemy from within. So when you see laws changing and you're like, God, that only helps the Chinese, there's a reason for that. And sometimes it's just ideological. Most of the time it's because that politician or the drafters of those bills and the people voting for them are one of two things: uninformed and they don't read the bills, or two, paid off to sign the bills. That's regulation warfare. That starts at the lowest level. Okay, the Chinese Communist Party through the United Workers Front, they subvert this country at the lowest levels of government. They usually start in community colleges to get their way onto chambers of commerce and make their community colleges, because a lot of small business owners go to night school. And then they will get into the local government, the local school board, the mayor's office. You may recall Eric Swalwell when he's sleeping with Fang Fang. She had been sleeping with some mayor before him. They work their way up. Ideological warfare, that is getting a country to turn against its own ideals. Okay, you may recall the 1619 Project, where every effort's made to piss on our history, to make us hate our country, hate our history. Well, that's by design. Now, a lot of people that execute it are useful idiots, a term coined by Lenin, who are doing it because they've been convinced it's not the ideological thing to do, and they're communists. But a lot of it is planned, okay? Ideological warfare, you're witnessing that right now. That's the whole point of TikTok. That's the whole point of censorship, is to get people to only see what's bad about their country. It's been happening in the UK since the 1970s, where they've been taught, any colonials are bad and evil, blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing. Media warfare, we know what that is, taking over the media and spinning it. A lot of the biased media that you've seen, especially in the last 4 years, those people are on contract, literal contract, with Xinhua Newsnet, NBC, AP, Reuters, and many others. And then there's cultural warfare. Okay, cultural warfare, my culture is better than yours. Your culture sucks. Or taking away your culture, or eliminating history so you don't even know what your culture is. These things are all employed. Okay, these are all employed simultaneously. And if you read the beginning of Unrestricted Warfare, they talk about this. They say, you can take this and match it with this, but why not take them all and unleash them at once? And if you see now, things are ramping up. The Tesla stuff's ramping up. The swatting's ramping up. The useful idiot or crazy person at the CIA, who knows? We're going to see more. And here's the reason why. Because right now, try to follow me here. Right now, Donald Trump is negotiating with Putin for a ceasefire in Ukraine. They're not inviting Ukraine because Ukraine has no cards, which is true, but also they're not the biggest part of this. The biggest part of this is to end this war, to bring Putin further away from the Chinese Communist Party, whom they're very closely allied with, albeit reluctantly. But the goal is to pull them further away from the Chinese Communist Party, thus reducing the power and projection that the Chinese Communist Party has. It will also, the combination of us drilling oil and pumping natural gas and opening up, better deals with the Russians, who are the provider for everyone over in Asia and Europe. For like Europe. But the point of that is to bring oil prices down. Because when you bring oil prices down, you also reduce the power projection of countries like Iran. When oil prices are low, they're not making as much money. They lose power. There's a grand strategy here. It's a shame that people don't understand. A lot of people, don't even know what a grand strategy is, because I think a lot of American presidents have abandoned having a grand strategy. It seemed very reactive, but it's very clear the Trump administration has a grand strategy. A big part of that is knocking off this war in Ukraine, however necessary, in my opinion, and getting Russia pulled away from Chinese Communist Party, which then reduces air power, also helps reduce gas and oil prices by increasing flow, which reduces the power projection of some of our most dangerous enemies. And that's what's going on, in my opinion. Okay, moving along. So I do see these attacks, the CIA one, the swatting, all of these as, obviously some of them are copycats, but it's also very coordinated. So very coordinated, that the swatting could be anyone, but the protests, we know who they are, but they're funded. They're well funded. You saw that map. There's so many of them. Where's the money come from? And that's the biggest one. And don't forget that we had open borders since 2021. We have over, according to JJ Carroll, my former co-host, still friend, and writer, 25-year veteran of Border Patrol, from his sources, there's like over 50,000 members of the Chinese military that slipped into these borders. But not only that, when you think of Chinese, don't just think of Chinese soldiers. Think of every country that's under the Belt and Road, that's deeply in the Belt and Road, the kind of, it's kind of like a big trade network that the Chinese Communist Party forces on people that need their money to build infrastructure. So think of like the countries are closely aligned with: Venezuela, now Brazil, Iran, all of these. Even Ukraine is in the Belt and Road. A lot of people don't know that. Even Ukraine's in the Belt and Road. So any of those countries can be leaned on to have some irregulars kind of activate in this country, because there's still millions of them in this country that we haven't been able to round up. Other kinds of warfare that we're watching occur right now is, check this one out. This is what I call lawfare. Okay. So in the deportation cases, Trump administration chastises judge for making deportation flight case a pecuniary dispute. I don't even know what that word is. But the Justice Department chastised a federal judge's demand for information about deportation flights that left the country over the weekend, accusing him of digressive micromanagement. So this judge, basically, Judge James Boasberg, a Biden appointee, wanted the Trump administration to return the flights that they deported all these illegal aliens on, to return them. But he also wanted very classified and detailed information about not only the flights, but who was on the flights, the flight routes. Okay, if I had to guess, this judge is working for the enemy. Okay, he's definitely working for the enemy, because why else would he need that stuff? That's a type of warfare. So zoom out, and maybe Brian is crazy, and hopefully I am. But zoom out, and when you really start looking at all of these different things happening together, you've got to ask yourself the number one question: are we under attack? I think we are. So, all right, going to go to a few comments. Actually, here is, oh, this is nice, but let me see. I'm Canadian. I apologize on behalf of my propagandist Canadians. Hey, we got as many here, so don't, please, we apologize too. Trudeau and the Liberals and many more political parties, all of all levels, and crown councils and judges are corrupt up here, protecting the cartels from various countries. David Drover and Sam Cooper on X. Same thing is going down here. Look at Arizona. Look at these Supreme Court justices. I'm not Supreme Court. Look at these appellate judges that are blocking every single thing that happens. Look at the Democrat Party that voted against fentanyl from being listed as a Schedule I drug, which would allow law enforcement a lot more leeway in how they go after those people importing them and selling them. So thank you. But you know what, Tanya, we have the same problems, and we love you guys. Just we've both had bad governments and bad people in our government. We both still have very bad people in our government, on our side as well as your side. I'm actually gonna have my friend Jim on tomorrow. He's Canadian. He's a podcaster up there. He knows he's good. He's a very good political mind, and we're gonna be talking about everything from the cross-provincial tariffs to I don't even know you guys tax each other across provinces. That's insane. But we're going to be talking about all of that, and it's not about Canadian bashing or U.S. bashing. It's about policy bashing and calling out the bullshit, like of, people acting like we're doing a bad thing by putting tariffs on countries that already are taxing us. So let me see. You got another. So let me, if you could, I can't pull that up here on this feed because I can't cut and paste it. So if you want to hop over to Rumble and post it there, I could grab it there. Yes, I agree with what you were stating in the USA. Yeah, it's the same thing. And then Ernest, hey, cousin Ernie, these judges are controlled by the One World Order associates, whether they know it or not, but they're getting paid off without a doubt, or they have something on them. I wish I had 1 million heads and 1 million hands because I could investigate every connection they have, but you're absolutely right. We actually supplied the Republican directorship with this information 5 days before your election. Yeah, honestly, there's so many different types of Republicans that it's likely if it got to the wrong people, they did not see it. So there's rhinos, Republicans in name only. There's the legacy Republicans, and there's MAGA or America First. The people, I don't consider myself a conservative or a liberal. I consider myself a nationalist populist and America First. So if you have the stuff, DM me, I'll follow you back, and I'll get the stuff. I'll go and get the stuff that you're trying to send. Okay. Who's the guy for tomorrow? From what province? David EB is invoking Bill 7. Guy tomorrow, I will put his X feed. Actually, just pay attention to my X. I'm going to post a tile about that show tomorrow. So really quickly want to talk about my sponsors before I get to more comments. So you guys might have wondered why I have this big bottle here. And what I've been doing is taking my Native Hydrate. This is one of our sponsors. I really love this stuff. And as you can see, I need more. Every morning I wake up, I take Native Hydrate. It really powers me through everything. You wake up, you're thirsty, you kind of feel lethargic. Before I even have coffee, I have Native Hydrate. So if you go to nativehydrate.com /Daily Clout, you could get the Native Hydrate. You could also get the other thing that we love in this house is the collagen peptides. We've been hammering this stuff. I put this stuff in everything now. I don't have any aches, breaks, or any complaining at all. My hair is thicker. My nails are good. My skin is good. My member of my family said, wow, your guys' skin looks really good. I was like, okay, it must be working. But I had a doctor on here. He said, of course you need collagen. Like I was an idiot. So makes sense. But if you go to nativepath /Daily Clout to learn more, they have tons of good products on there. You won't be sorry. And the other reason I have the rosy glow, as I say, is because I have gotten another good night of sleep because of magnesium. Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers. Use code DailyClout at bioptimizers.com /Daily Clout for 10% off because crushing your goals starts with taking care of you. I want to point out that like 60% of Americans do not get enough magnesium. What does magnesium do? Well, it helps you do a lot. For me, it helps me get a good night of sleep. It's not a sedative. It just kind of allows your cells to absorb more. So think about it. If you're not getting enough magnesium, you're not absorbing everything you should. You're probably going to feel worse. You're going to, it's going to lead to dementia even is one of the symptoms. So magnesium, and not all magnesium is built the same. So check out Magnesium Breakthrough at bioptimizers.com /Daily Clout. And I'll wait on the other one because it is tick season and I want to show you my wellness company kit because we have now the neighbors are asking us for doxycycline. So, because everyone gets bit up here. So we'll get to that in a second. Oh, and also make sure you go to Daily Clout, dailyclout.io, and check out all the stuff we have going there. Tons of good shows, lots of good commentary, lots of good articles. You won't be sorry. Sign up for free. We don't spam you, but the stuff you get is very, very good. So check out dailyclout.io for all of our investigations. You can also go over there and get your copy of the Pfizer papers edited by my wife, Naomi Wolf, and also Amy Kelly, the COO of Daily Clout. But check out the Pfizer papers. And it's a really impressive book. I have a bunch behind me, but I don't want to bend over and get it. But you can't go wrong. It's amazing. You're going to want it in your house because if you took the vaccine or know someone that did, they might have some things going on with them that they don't understand. They'll find it in this book. You could also go to dailyclout.io to purchase a copy of it there. Highly recommend it. Okay, so let's get back to the show. Okay, can you DM me on X for our conversation go? I am not an ex-paid subscriber. Yeah, let me go and take care of that right now. I'd have no problem with that. Give me a second. I'm doing it now because I'll forget to do it otherwise. So yeah, the whole point of this is, when I see the CIA thing happen today, I had to get on. Looking a little disheveled. I was actually outside shooting earlier, and I heard about this and I ran right in. So, but let me just call it back here. Okay, and let me see. All right. Thanks for hanging with me, guys. There she is. Okay. All right. And okay, yeah, I see your DMs. You can DM me, so go ahead and oh, that's from a while back. Okay, there you go. All right, just took care of that. So yeah, if you could send me that stuff, definitely. And yes, with no E though on the end of that name, but yes, she is. Okay, so then yeah, terrorism's one of them, Mystic Mind. Thanks for joining us. It's one of the things, but if you go back to and I would really highly recommend reading this. Let me call that back up. It's a weird read. I'm not gonna lie to you. They write in very flowery language, but yeah. So you can actually even buy it on Amazon. So it was leaked. It was actually leaked by the People's Liberation Army, like back in like 1999. That's when it goes back. And it's based on the fact that when the Chinese Communist Party saw our performance in Desert Storm, Desert Shield, they realized they couldn't beat us kinetically. So as the beginning of the book says, the war god has changed his face. So when you're thinking about warfare, a lot of people are like, oh, it's not the Chinese. And that's don't think like an American. Don't think like a Westerner. Think as they think. We think and focus on what's called the hardware of war. They think and they focus on what's called the software of war. So what's the hardware of war? The hardware of war is boots on the ground, weapons, armor. The software of war, their definition is the outcome, the objective. They don't care how they get to the objective. And one of the first things they say in the beginning of the book, or paper, if you will, is the rules of unrestricted warfare is that everything is a battlefield and everyone is an enemy combatant. And I'll tell you, when you read this, you're going to be like, it's one of those things when you read it, you realize, okay, we all don't think alike. These guys are thinking totally different than we are. And they are. Okay. And they are. And it's important that people understand that. Like, we try, and I see so many people doing this. I was trained not to do it. It's called mirror imaging. Okay. So when I was intelligence training, one of the first things we were taught to watch out for as a pitfall was mirror imaging. What is mirror imaging? That's when investigators or journalists or intel analysts will look at a person that they're targeting or analyzing and start thinking that the person thinks like them. Well, they don't think like you. No one thinks like another person. How I see the world is different than how anyone sees the world. When you remove shared culture, shared language, shared history, there's going to be a wider gap in how we think. Okay, it doesn't mean one's better or worse, but what I'm saying is you have to teach yourself not to mirror image. Like, for instance, when people say, oh, they wouldn't make, a pharmaceutical that's bad for you just for profit. No, you wouldn't make that, but they would. You see what I mean? If you mirror image, you're saying they wouldn't do that, but you don't know what they would do. So it's the same thing when you read this book, you realize you're like, holy moly, like, damn, these guys are serious, and they are. But again, to your point, Mystic Mind, terrorist warfare is one of them. That's more of the kind of like irregular, I call it irregular warfare, but really that disruptive warfare. And so why do terrorists come into play is because terrorist attacks they help you determine enemy response time. They also help you achieve chaos. They also create other fronts of war. So if you have people within a country, think like of traditional war. So we're fighting outwards to an enemy coming in. Well, all of a sudden, if we have an enemy within, we have to break some of our ranks and point inward So we're fighting a multi-front battle. That's what it also creates, and it's a very powerful tool. And it's, probably one of the oldest forms of warfare out there. Vlad the Impaler, or Vlad of Wallachia, Dracula. He probably is the first well-known person to use terrorist tactics to try to defeat a larger enemy, that being the Turks. And that's where the legend of Dracula came from. So the Turks, who had a much bigger army, they were coming through Wallachia, and that's kind of like the gateway to Europe. And so the only army that stood there was Vlad the Impaler's army. So what he did is he had all these captured Turkish soldiers. He put them up on pikes from the rear end through the head, and he made a forest of these impaled Turkish soldiers just in there dying, moaning, different stages of decomposition. And he made a path going right down through the center of it. And at the end of the path, he had a banquet table. And he was dipping his bread in the enemy's blood. Well, the point of that was, I'm pretty sure he probably didn't want to eat enemy blood, but what he did want to do was scare the hell out of the enemy. And so when the Turkish scouts came and they saw that, they were not that resolved to fight. Lemmy actually was able to find it amazingly. So yeah, I mean, here's the famous, woodcut etching. So you see these Turkish soldiers up on pikes, and then here's the Turkish emissaries, and they come through, and there's all this go around. There's Vlad dipping his bread in the enemy's blood. One of the first acts, very, very effective. And, he's actually considered a hero by his own people, but that's the point of it, is like, it's a very powerful weapon, and you never know the form it's going to come at you in. So just a little history. I was kind of a Dracula buff there for a little while in my life. So yeah, and then let me see. Mystic Mind says, I have a hard time believing that, but I'll check it out. Yeah, you should definitely check it out. It's not that hard to believe once you see it. But again, you have to change the way you look at warfare too, and think the way how the Chinese think about warfare. By that metric, Antifa or CCP stooges, they definitely serve a purpose. If you look at every single Antifa riot, they all have hammers and sickles, and they look exactly the way the Red Guard during Mao's China looked. I'd recommend going to an interview I did with G. Van Fleet, where we dove deep into the Red Guard and how similar to Antifa they are. She definitely sees the similarities. She grew up in Mao's China, and we see a lot of the similarities too, right down to the tactics, the umbrellas, the way they do their attacks. I'd also recommend reading Andy Ngo's book. I think it's called Unmasked, where he was viciously attacked by Antifa. But these are, yes. And Antifa, by the way, comes out of, they come out of Germany, like pre-World War II Germany. They've been around for a while. Ironically, their own leaders let their founder rot in a Nazi prison. So, because they just wanted the power. So it's very similar, but yeah, they've been around for a while. The game stays the same, even though the players change, as they say. So, all right. So, I read about those heads on the spikes. Yeah, no, it's pretty, it's pretty crazy, but there's really no new ideas in warfare. That's the thing. And they've been around. It's just the weapons change, but, and the sophistication of warfare changes. But at the end of the day, it's all about objectives and victories and losses, no matter how you achieve it. So if your goal is to conquer land, and you can conquer that land with a pen and a lawyer, why would you put boots on the ground? So that's how the Chinese see warfare. If we can take that enemy land by changing their laws, let's do that. It's cheaper, it's more effective, rather than traditional warfare. So it's something to read. If you check out, and there's a free copy of it, Mystic Mind, I will actually put that up in the thing for you. But there's a free copy of Unrestricted Warfare that you can find online in PDF form. If you want to buy the book, by all means, buy it. But if you don't want to spend the money, I'm pretty sure the money's not going to the Chinese Communist Party at this point. But let me see. I might even have that. And I actually did a really good thread about this. So it goes back to again, looking, zooming back out while all these things are happening and looking back over the last, 10 years, if you think about it, remember too that we don't care. Like, we care about winning things quickly. The way we look at warfare is as few casualties as possible and in as little time as possible. That's why Americans and the West in general, they get so impatient with war. Whereas, a lot of these more ancient cultures, they're good with a 50-year war if they have to. And remember, the goal of the Chinese Communist Party is 2049. They're slow and steady wins the race. That's always how they operate. So it makes it even harder to recognize war because it moves so slowly. But if you pull a map of the Belt and Road Initiative, which is public everywhere, you'll see the way they have almost encircled the United States with people in the Belt and Road. And that would be under trade warfare. Okay, let me see here. I'm trying to get to these. Yeah, and I gave a speech. If you just type that into X right there, you could pull up all of my last 5 years where I posted about this. I always put links so it's informative. There you go. Yeah, just type that search into your Twitter and that will pull them all up. And I'll try to list as many as I can. I gave a speech out in San Jose about this. And then, as you could see, I just started going through and essentially gluing all these things together. I'm not the first one. There's like General Spaulding, Gordon Chang, Trevor Loudon, lots of Alex Newman. Like, there's just so many people that can see this, and it's just hard to see. But once you see it everywhere, and it's not because you're crazy. It's demonstrable. Even the CIA saw it. When I was looking for this, ironic that in a 2024 letter to the CIA from the House Oversight Accountability Commission regarding the Chinese Communist Party's various unrestricted warfare tactics currently employed against the U.S., among them political warfare. So that's an official memo going back and forth, and there's an entire commission set up for this. So it's beyond just a couple guys that wrote a paper. Like, this is a major threat to our entire way of life and existence. So it's something to keep an eye on. How does it tie in with the attack on the CIA and swatting and everything? It may not. It may be a symptom of those things. It may be something that comes along with those things. But the point is, what I want you to recognize is the attacks are coming from everywhere at once across multiple vectors. That has all the hallmarks of unrestricted warfare. How do you protect yourself against it? Well, the first thing you do is you do not. I mean, I'm pretty impressed with, the steeliness of Owen Schroyer. But I would highly recommend not bringing your phone out when you're getting swatted and saying, "Can I record this?" Like, good Lord, man. I was like, dude, put that phone down, because you could have a trigger. People are nervous. These police are nervous. They're not the bad guys in most cases, but it's the middle of the night. They don't know what he has in his hand. You may get that itchy trigger finger, and then all hell breaks loose. So I'd recommend not doing that. I was actually impressed that he not only set the phone down, but he set it down with a great view of what was going on. Just wow. Mad respect, but I recommend not doing that. So the first thing you could do is to not get dead. That's the best thing you could do. And by not getting dead, if you get swatted, because it's not just, big names. It's sometimes small names. It could be an angry neighbor. There was a guy in Hudson Valley just got arrested the other day for multiple swatting incidents that he was doing against his ex-in-laws. So if that happens, what I always tell people, turn on all your lights, make sure it's the cops, keep your hands in plain sight, and comply as much as you can. I even recommend getting a blink camera. You'll get the recording that Owen Schroyer wanted without having to put yourself in danger. But you can also use the intercom and say, "Hey, this is Brian O'Shea. I'm unarmed. I'd like to call your precinct and make sure you really are cops. And I am complying. You can see my hands are in plain sight, and I will come out as soon as I've verified. Or can someone call this number from your station, whatever." But you want to comply. You want to move slowly. Do not answer the door with a gun. That's why I like having those outdoor cameras. If there is something outside, I can see what it is before I decide whether or not to pull a firearm. So that's the first one. And just comply and just move slowly like he did towards the end, and keeping those hands in plain sight. It's not a time to put up a protest. the goal there is to not get dead, and then you can put up a protest. But these cops are responding to calls that they have to treat as real. So with the goal being to get you shot by the cops. Whoever makes the calls, those are the bad guys. Okay, those are the bad guys. And just be on the lookout. Go to Blue Sky. Look for someone bragging about it and report them all, because every lead counts. Report them all. Because once you get a few good charges and a few good sentences on people, if they're not professionals doing this, if they're just like protesters, they will wimp out and you'll see a reduction in it. If it's an organized thing, they'll just keep going. But it certainly helps. And then, what do you do about like the Tesla dealerships? Well, like I said, if you have one near you and there's a protest, turn on that dash cam or get out and turn on your camera and start filming people in license plates. They have a right to protest. We have a right to do surveillance from a public space, because there's only so many FBI agents that are even honest right now until Kash Patel flushes them all out. So the way I see it is, just because we have one of the best presidents in history in the White House, whether you disagree with me or not, I don't care. I think he is, just, based on the metrics. But we all have to kind of protect this. Okay. It's not about protecting Elon Musk or protecting Tesla. It's about not bowing to what is terrorism. Because if they are successful in killing Tesla stock and getting Elon Musk to go broke and step down, they win. And that means every time they want to change something, whoever they are, they're going to do it through violence. And that's not the world I want to live in. My overall theory of the case here is why the CIA attacks, why the Tesla attacks, why all of these attacks. Well, you may recall Carlos the Jackal. You probably saw the movie The Jackal with Bruce Willis. But back in the 70s, he wrote something called the Mini Manual of the Urban Guerrilla. And I highly recommend that everyone pick up a copy of this. It's just pure communism and Leninism, but it's more Leninism than anything. But let me just call it up here. Okay. All right, so he was known as Carlos. It's Carlos Marighella. Let me share my screen with you. But really, for all of these things, if you really want to understand in the grand scheme of things what's going on, you have to educate yourself on communism, Leninism, Maoism, all of the communisms, and then things really start looking clear. And it's not because it's not confirmation bias, it just makes perfect sense. So like when you read the Mini Manual of the Urban Guerrilla, which apparently is free online, this is, how most of the guerrilla groups in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s are based in communism. And so really one of the key things I took away from this book is the goal is to get the government to impose martial law on its population. Because once you get the government to impose martial law on its population, you have more of a chance of a revolution taking place and people turning against that very government. Now, what I see, and this is just a theory at this point, what I see is it starts with the swatting and the Tesla attacks. The swatting to shut those people up while the Tesla attacks happen. That wasn't enough. It's not changing Trump's mind at all about Ukraine and funding. So now they've taken it up a notch. Let's attack the CIA. Okay, let's attack a local police station. I'm seeing more and more. We're going to see, I can almost guarantee we're going to see coordinated riots in major cities across the board, probably around the 100-day mark. Okay. And the whole goal is to get Donald Trump to put troops on the ground and impose martial law so that that way you can foment anarchy and revolution. Sounds antiquated, I know, but if you just go to like Marxist.org, they're still chanting this stuff. If you go to Refuse Fascism podcast, they're still chanting this stuff. And if you go to most of these Action Network organizations, they're still chanting this stuff. It might as well be the same thing the Red Guard and the Mao was chanting during Mao's China. So I'll leave you at that. Again, this was an emergency broadcast, but actually I'm going to put on some stuff for you here, but I just want to go and grab I want to grab my wellness kit. Actually, let me just give a holler. Excellent. And my assistant, Naomi Wolf, is handing me the blood-soaked wellness kit.
Just say hi.
Oh. All right, Naomi just said hi to everyone. Hi, Naomi. So,
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, baby. That's nice. So why am I bringing this up? This is one of our sponsors. You got to get this kit. Everyone's got to get this kit. I highly recommend it. We have it, obviously. The blood is actually from our dog. He cut himself in the garage. But that is the site you go to get all of these. Get rid of this guy here, and I'm going to stop that screen share. Okay. So this is the medical emergency kit. I love this kit. What I like about it is it has all the stuff you need. Okay. No matter what. Okay. So you have, let me see what we got here. I got 100 tablets of prescribed doxycycline. I've got something, I don't know what it is, but everything I need is in here. Cetron, which is for nausea and vomiting. There is amoxicillin for everything from UTIs to other infections. All the stuff you normally have to run to. Yeah, there's amoxicillin. It's a great kit. It fits anywhere. Fits actually in your glove box. And what I really like is they come pre-prescribed, written out. You know, these prescriptions are to me and by a real doctor, not one of these pill shops. And I'd warn you, there are a lot of pill shops, online pill farms popping up on even really big names promoting. I won't say the name of it, but I've looked into a certain all family pharma. And as an investigator, I can say, looks a little shady. So be careful. I like the wellness company because you can go to the site, you can meet their doctors, you can talk to them. They're on the show. They're real people. They're really prescribing things, because the problem with pill farms or those online pill factories, if you're allergic to something and they prescribe the wrong thing, they can kill you. Okay. So what I like is when you go to the wellness company, you have to really provide some good information about what are you allergic to, because they can't prescribe a blood thinner if you're on insulin, because then your blood is going to be like paint thinner. As an example, one thing about this kit that I love has the guide. And so, and it's very simple to use. I'm not a doctor, so I like this, but they basically list, so they list the FDA approved uses, the common off-label uses, like, talking about amoxicillin. So dental infections, diabetic foot infections, pulmonary disease, lung abscesses, acute bacterial, like nasal passages, sinus infections. They have the dosing, the warnings. If you're pregnant, be careful of this, go to this appendix. So all that stuff comes right in this awesome kit, which we have left out because we have a contractor working on this house and he's been bit by ticks about 50 times. So we're probably gonna have to get more doxycycline. But it's good to have it because I don't have to sit on the phone with a doctor and then drive 30 minutes to CVS to get one pill of doxycycline. So that's nice. But go to dailyclouthealth.com, use code dailyclout, get 10% off. This is my favorite kit, but they have an emergency kit, they have a first aid kit, they have every kit you can imagine. I really like these. They also have some other products that I use regularly, like the bison organs. This replaced my multivitamin. It is a heart, liver, kidney of actual bisons, Canadian bisons, grass-fed, packed in these little tiny pills, and I take those every morning instead of a multivitamin. Makes you strong like bull, won't make you look like a bull, though. I feel great on these things. Also, another one is they also have a sleep aid. They have everything, every supplement you can imagine. Love the wellness company, good friends there. So check them out and mention this broadcast. And I gave you the wrong promo code. You could use Daily Clout or you could use everything for this show, whichever one you remember. It's Peter and Paul. So, but yeah, I just want you guys to not have to rely so much on running to the hospital for everything. That's why I really heavily promote the wellness company. And I know them. I know them personally. They're great people. They've been to my house. I can't say enough about that company. So I hope you enjoy them. Give me your feedback on them. And that's it. Well, guys, look, this was an emergency broadcast. I will not leave you with anything else but a hearty goodbye. I am having dinner cooked by my daughter tonight. And so that's where my wife and I will be going. So there will not be an 8 o'clock broadcast. There will be one on Friday. I'm going to try to do broadcasts every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Okay. And we'll be talking about the news of the day. Don't forget, tomorrow we have another special broadcast at 8 p.m. I really, really would recommend you check this out on Rumble. I see a lot of you are on X, and that's fine. Rumble is, that's pretty much where all the censored people went during the pandemic, ourselves included. But if you go to Rumble, what you're going to see here is, just go to Rumble, type in Investigate Everything on Daily Cloud. I'll share that screen so you can see. And I'm going to ask you all to do a favor. Even if you don't want to watch it on Rumble, that's fine. I prefer you do, but if you don't want to, that is your prerogative. This is America. I can only recommend. I can't insist. But you'll find it there. Other episodes I've done, and then that's the episode we're on right now. Rolling live. Other episodes I've done, you can find all the past episodes. Did a lot on the Luigi Mangione case. We did a lot on the border. We've been doing this for a few years now. A lot on the California fires. I even got a little drone action in there. You can check that out. Great book. Good friend here, AJ Rice. He's awesome. He wrote a great, lots of good interviews. The interview I mentioned earlier was that I definitely want you guys to check out. There's a couple. What you want to check out on this, especially, is this one, Beneath Sheep's Clothing. That is the infiltration of our schools by communism since the 20s or 40s, I guess. And then also G. Van Fleet. This is a great interview, one of my favorites that I've done. She was a big-time activist in Loudoun County. She wrote a great book called Mao's America, A Survivor's Warning. This is an excellent interview, and I'll actually sign off by playing some of it for you so you can enjoy that, because there's a great little thing. She has so many points here that, like, your jaw will hit the ground. But I'll leave you with some of that interview, and we'll just take it from there. But thanks for joining me. Sorry about the confusing nature of this. So what did we cover today? We covered swatting, Tesla, and we covered the attack on the CIA. I'm starting to see all these things as connected. I can imagine there will be a water supply thing. I can imagine there will be train derailments because, hey, why not? The CCP makes most of our trains. I bet you didn't know that either, through a company called CRRC in Springfield, Massachusetts. But yes, I will have Jim Torma on tomorrow. He is Shim Jelly, or at Shim Jelly on X. I will put up a tile later. He's going to tell me all of his thoughts on the tariffs, everything like that. Jim he's like me. He's just a guy that studies this stuff. He doesn't have my background, but I've known Jim for some time, and he has a keen sense of what's going on. He's really great political analyst and critic. So it'll be really good, especially for Americans, to really get a sense of Canadian politics and the current going-ons in Canada. So tune in tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. I'll have Jim Torma on, and he is the host of Fear Factory, his own podcast up there in Canada. Jim's a friend. He's a fellow drone guy too, so it's always good to ask him his advice on certain things. And I'll leave you at that. So thanks for joining me for this especially long cast, but we will tune in and we'll pop up every now and then if there's more breaking news. So make sure you go to, by the way, make sure you go to Rumble, and you are going to go to Investigate Everything. And when you go there, please, please, please hit that follow button. That's very important. Hit that follow button. The more we build up the audience, the more people can, get this information. I don't put a lot on on YouTube, because every freaking time I do, it gets censored. If I talk about the Chinese Communist Party, it gets censored. If I talk about Pfizer, it gets censored. I actually lifted up a cup that had the Pfizer papers on it during my interview with AJ Rice, and it got censored because I held up that cup. So most of our stuff, or if you missed the broadcast, will be on Rumble. Hit that follow button. I really appreciate it. And then you could also be part of the live chat. It's easier for me just to focus on the Rumble chat. So, all right, guys, that's it for today. I will leave you with some clips from G Van Fleet, and I will talk to you later. And hopefully Mystic Mind is still listening, because she had some great questions. Mystic Mind, I hope you see this. If not, head over to my Rumble channel and go ahead and I'll put that right there on the bottom. Head over to my Rumble channel and please hit that follow button. It's free. And did a lot of great interviews. I can't say enough about them. And check out all the great shows at dailyclout.io. We'll hopefully do more cross visiting each other's shows here soon. All right. Have a great afternoon, and we will keep you updated, and stay sharp. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
If you have to choose before your parents and the party, you don't even question. You choose the party.
Yeah.
You
Especially
follow
if
what
it's
the
all
party.
you know, right?
Yeah.
That's all you know.
Yeah. Okay. So that is the indoctrination has been going on 17 years. See, that's a whole generation, right? 17 years. From 1949 to 1966, when the Cultural Revolution started, that is a whole generation of kids knew nothing but the indoctrination, the idea that they belong to the party, they belong to not the country, to the party, and their duty is to defend Chairman Mao and defend the party. So when Mao told them, we're going to take down the corrupt bureaucracy, those are bad guys. Those are not real communists. And he started calling intellectuals reactionary intellectual authority. They are all enemies of the state. It's just a label that covered a group of people, right? The people who are intellectuals, who are in the role of authority. So they're all bad. They need to be get rid of. So what do you think the Red Guards will do? When you think about the teachers, right? Teachers are the one that have authority over them. The principals, the president of universities, they're the ones. So before they do anything else, they went after the teacher. It's just like a switch. Yesterday, it was a teacher and you bow, and today they become the enemy. Once it become enemy, they're no longer human. They deserve whatever, violence, deaths. Right. So the first killing that took place during the Cultural Revolution, the Cultural Revolution started in May 13th, 1966. I think it's August 5th. Now I'm not quite sure about the date. The first killing took place in a girls' high school by a bunch of girls aging from 12 to 17. They got their principal, they got the assistant principal, a few other leaders of the school and teachers, and had a struggle session and beat them, torture them, force them to perform certain things, and eventually kill the principal. And so you can say those girls are monsters. I guess they were, because they killed their principal, but they turned into monster just that quickly. Why? It's because the indoctrination of their entire life until that point. So the same thing here. And the same thing that you think those Antifa would not kill people. Actually, they kill some. Yeah.
They killed a lot of people.
Absolutely well. And all you need to do is to label some people or group of people the enemy of the state, the threat to so-called our democracy. And how they demonized Trump was exactly what happened during the Cultural Revolution. The number one victim of Mao's Cultural Revolution was his successor, the president of China, Liu Shaoqi. He was the one that took control of China after Mao was forced to take back seat. He tried to improve the economy, and he was very popular because people suffered so much. They want to have their life improved, and he was doing that. For that, actually, many historians believe that was his sole reason for Mao to launch his Cultural Revolution, to get rid of his the number one enemy.
Sure. I mean,
okay. So people kind of like him. Okay. Overnight, he was demonized, and there's all sorts of propaganda posters and portray him as absolutely the evil person, the evilest you've ever seen.
He's trying to take this from you and that sort of thing.
Okay, what was his crime?
Yeah.
He wanted to take us back to capitalism. Oh my God, capitalism.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
People just don't know. I witnessed that overnight. He looked like a devil to me. I was a little kid. But
Really?
overnight, he really seriously looked like a devil to me. Just like the people indoctrinated here. Trump looked like a devil to them. They don't have to think why. They were told so, that must be so. So the Red Guard, and Mao led the Red Guard to really attack Liu Shaoqi. And I'm not saying Liu Shaoqi was a good guy. He was better than Mao, but he was a communist. And it's very telling. During his encounter with the Red Guard, he said, "Can you let me talk?" They said, "No, we won't let you talk." He said, "Well, at least I'm a citizen of this country." Well, I said, "You shut up, because you are part of the communist regime. You don't let people talk. Now you want to talk?" See, that is the problem. That is the problem of communist regime. They turned against each other, and now Liu Shaoqi wants his right to talk. And that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen to America when the left, the radical left, succeeded. Their supporters won't be able to talk.